Hello. The Instagram Live is going to start in a few minutes. I can't see the time right now. I'll wait to see if there will be more people joining. I'm not sure if you saw my promotion for it, but I'll be talking about at-home businesses, businesses that you can start at home with minimal finances that are required to start the business. If you just started following me, I'm YEG writer, but my name is Nikita Waterman, and I've been writing for the past 6 years. In 2014, I started a writing business, and my goal really was to help people and companies take their content to the next level. And at the time, I was working a full-time job as well and wanted to start a business that I can use just in case something were to happen to my job. And it has worked out for me well. I came up with this idea in mind because of the current health crisis that's happening. A lot of people are worried about their jobs, and some entrepreneurs are looking to get into new businesses to supplement their income or just in case something happens. So I'll wait a couple more minutes and hopefully some more people will join. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to share them, and I'll be able to answer your questions. Okay, give it a few more minutes here. So, Crystal Puem Photography, are you in Edmonton? Oh, okay. Okay, I'll get started. I suppose if anybody else comes into the chat, I will just do a brief summary of what we chatted about. So yes, my name is Nikita Waterman. I write, hey, how are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for joining my Instagram Live. Today I will be going over opportunities for working from home in writing or whatever it is that you are thinking about doing next. Usually I try to focus on tips and advice for branding and writing, but because of the current health crisis that is happening internationally right now, I felt it was time for me to change my focus and try to help people who are interested in starting a side gig or some kind of full-time business online. And just to introduce myself, my name is Nikita Waterman. I was born and raised in Toronto. I now live here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is about 8 hours away from Vancouver. And before I moved here to Edmonton, I was working at TD Canada Trust. I was really unhappy with my life, and I wanted to pursue what I went to school for, which was journalism at the time. And I made the mistake some people make. I decided to leave TD Canada Trust in 2013, and I thought that I could, start a business on my own. I had a few jobs here and there, but it didn't quite work out the way that I was hoping for. And for 6 months, I went through a very challenging time in my life. And I had this epiphany at the time that I wanted to make sure that that would never happen to me again, whether I had lost my job or something happened to the economy, that I would have some kind of a business that I can do from home or I can do on the weekends or at night to supplement my income. Oh, that's okay. I'll be here for 30 minutes, so I wanted to start a writing business, and when I moved here to Edmonton, I was working full-time doing marketing for an organization in accounting, and at night and on the weekends I started my writing business. And it was difficult at first because even though I knew how to do marketing and I knew how to write, I didn't know how to balance clients and marketing and things of that nature. And that's something that you might have to think about if you decide to start a new business or start a business on the side. So the topics that I'm going to go over today are different businesses that you can do from home, social media branding and how important it is for you to create some kind of a personal or a business brand so people can find you and people can get more of a better understanding of who you are and what you can offer. Guest blogging. Guest blogging is writing for the HuffPost, for example, or writing for a reputable news site in your industry. For example, photography, or for yourself, Travel Crystal. I'm sure there are some photography news sites or some large high-traffic sites that accept people to guest blog. We'll also be talking about how to find clients online, managing your finances, and then at the end there will be a question and answer. So there are different remote businesses. I have seen photographers work from home or lease studio space when they have an opportunity to film or photograph a client. And for travel, for you, Crystal, I'm sure, as you're aware, there are a lot of people who not just have travel agencies and are leasing space, but they can also do it from home. I have seen multi-level marketing opportunities in the travel space, and I have seen people who have become licensed if they needed to get a license and do it from home. And I would really want to just give some advice that running a business is hard. If the both of you are in business right now, I'm sure if you're a small business owner, you have to be the marketing agent. Sometimes you have to be your accountant. You have to be customer service. So any advice that I can give is do something that you're passionate about. Because when you get rejections or you do receive clients, or sometimes clients can't afford to stay with your business anymore, your passion, your why, the reason why you wake up every morning will inspire you to keep going. And when I first started my writing business, I had a little bit of experience with it, as I had mentioned. I was moonlighting, or basically writing in the evening and on weekends while I was working full-time. And after 2 years, I was able to walk away from the workforce. And a lot of businesses from home, they suffice and they thrive during economic meltdowns because they're marketing themselves. And every day I would take 3 to 4 hours and I would market myself online, whether it was doing guest blogging, as I had mentioned previously. I guest blog for the HuffPost, Glassdoor, which is a pretty reputable job site engine. And I would also look for opportunities online, like companies that were looking for people to work from home or freelancers to provide projects or assignments to on a casual basis or a long-term basis. So a lot of your time will be spent marketing. I hope this coronavirus disappears soon, because the other part of my time before all of this happened, my time was also spent going to networking events. And as a writer, I'll just use myself as an example. I would go to networking events where I knew that other entrepreneurs would be in the room, and I tried not to go to marketing events with other writers, because writers usually don't hire writers. I know there are best-selling authors that use ghostwriters to write their books, but when all of this is said and done and the health crisis disappears, I would recommend going at least once a week or every 2 weeks or once a month to a networking event of people in your industry. For example, as a photographer, if I were a photographer, I would go to a business event where I knew there would be different people that are working in organizations, such as professionals, and I would go to business networking events, because most of the time, and depending on where you live, you'll be the only photographer in the room. So when you're the only person in the room that has your skill set to provide travel services or photography or writing, it's a perfect opportunity for people to say, hey, you're the writer. Can I sit down and talk to you? I have some issues, or I have some photography that I need help with, and I haven't been able to find somebody. I'm so glad I came here. So always try to be the only person in the room with your skill set. And if you're in the room with several other photographers or several other travel agents, when you are at these networking events and they ask everybody in the room to talk about who they are and what they offer, try not to talk so much about what you offer, like your products and your services and your pricing, but talk about your story. No matter what business you're in, people love stories. People love it when you can be truthful and honest with them about why you started. Like for example, my story, as I mentioned to you, I was in banking for 9 years. I wasn't happy with my life. I wanted to change it. I loved writing, and I took a chance to move to Western Canada, and it all worked out. So that's a part of my story. So people are connected to brands and people that they resonate with, that they can understand, that they see something in themselves. The other strategy that you want to keep in mind is social media branding. And I know some of you had just recently started following me, but I started changing my social media branding and being more personal with videos on tips to do certain things when it comes to writing. And I know a lot of the time in the small business space, there's a misconception that if you give free advice, that people won't help you, but I personally don't agree with that. It's true. And the reason why I say that, Crystal, is because when I started 6 years ago and I was guest blogging, those websites, the HuffPost and other sites, they were not paying me to blog. But even though I was doing it for free, people would read the blog and then contact me and say, hey, I really like that blog that you did on the HuffPost. I have an app company. Can you do the same thing for me? I need a writer to write my blog. And a lot of the times, small businesses or medium businesses, they will approach you because they simply don't have time to do photography, or they don't have time to put together a travel package for their entire team. So social media branding is really, really great. I always tell people to do what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with getting in front of the camera and doing photos, do that. If you're comfortable with writing, with blogging, with doing a vlog, or even getting on Spotify and sharing your tips, your advice, what works for you, what doesn't, in a Spotify audio, that will expand your ability to reach more people, because not everybody has time to watch a YouTube video, but people will listen to a Spotify while they're at the gym, while they're walking their dog, while they're on vacation and they have some downtime. So try to think about the social media platforms that work for you. I personally, I'm on about 7 or 8. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I have a YouTube channel. I am on Facebook, and I automate all my social media posts. So I do answer to people, and I post manually on Instagram, but I like to use social media scheduling apps to help me schedule my content. And in addition to that, be honest, be transparent, be vulnerable, share your truth with your audience. And marketing is really a conversation. And that's a big part of being a business owner while you're doing this from home. Either you will have the resources to pay somebody to do your marketing, or you will have to do it yourself. And marketing is a conversation. Blogging is a conversation. Every social media post should be a conversation. You can do that by asking questions. Like, start off with a question. Like, did you get your photos ready for Christmas? Are you ready to take family photos for Christmas? And then share a little story so that it's not more like a sales pitch, because I'm not sure if has anybody been sold to, or has anybody gone out and, oh, okay, so which apps do I prefer? For writing, I like LinkedIn because I'm more business to business, and a lot of CEOs and founders of startups are on LinkedIn. A lot of people shy away from LinkedIn because it's not like Instagram, but that's all. Most companies are on LinkedIn. Most growing companies are on LinkedIn. Decision makers at companies, like directors and vice presidents, are on LinkedIn. And if you follow hashtags and you're really good at using hashtags based on job titles and locations, and you post every day, or the best that you can each week, people will notice what you're doing. I said this in my story last week that people might not like or reshare or comment on your posts or your blogs or your videos, but people are always watching, and that's how I've been able to sustain my business even during the ups and downs of the oil and gas industry here in Edmonton, because here in my province we literally have our own economy here. So when oil and gas goes up and down here in Edmonton, businesses change. And the other thing I would like to say about social media is there is a misconception that social media you can't use content on Instagram and use it on LinkedIn. But I don't agree with that, and I've seen influencers do this all the time. You just have to change the way the content is written. For example, if you have an informal content that's more casual on Instagram, you can use that and repurpose that content and post it on LinkedIn with more professional content and a more professional image. So that's another way to get your name out there, is to share your blogs, your quotes, your videos, your thoughts, your ideas on social media, and be transparent as possible. Guest blogging. I know I was mentioning earlier, as a guest blogger, if you're in photography or if you're in the travel agency, I'm sure all of you have your own popular sites that are available in your industry. You can contact the editor. If you have a favorite website, try to contact the editor or send an email sharing a short bio about who you are, what you offer, and different titles of articles that you want to write for those websites. And always, whatever email that you send to editors, make sure that it's more about them and the readers than it is about you, because editors they have a full-time job just like everybody else, and they receive a lot of emails every day. So the emails that they receive need to be done in a way that you care about their readers and you want to educate their readers with something interesting. And if the editor likes your proposal, then they will ask you to write an article or a blog and send it to them so they can read it. And if they like it, most websites, I'm not sure how sites in your industries operate, but most of them will give you a small little bio with your photo, and if you ask, or they will offer, they will also include your social media profiles, and they will include your website. And the great thing about guest blogging is a lot of people, their audience will read their blogs, and sometimes if they're interested, they will click on the name of the author, and it opens up freelance or work from home opportunities for you, because you never know who's reading. It could be, again, a CEO, somebody at a company that is a decision maker. And guest blogging, it helps you to gain authority and a reputation for knowing your industry, especially if your blog is connected to a high traffic site or a reputable website. It builds your credibility, it builds your audience. What I noticed too when I started writing for the HuffPost a couple of years ago, people would read my HuffPost blog and then they would follow me on my social media sites. And so it can increase your following as well and lead to business opportunities that you have never expected. And the next topic we're going to talk about is how to find clients. I know social media is one way to find clients. I wouldn't depend solely on social media alone. Another way to find clients is to look on Indeed. Indeed.com, Glassdoor.com, and other sites of this nature. And you'd be surprised, there are a lot of companies that are looking for, they call it freelancers, but it's basically, a freelancer is somebody who provides a product or a service and they're not an employee. So the upside to freelancing is most companies will allow you to do photography in your own time or provide travel agency or writing opportunities in your own time, but they will give you a deadline. So the deadline might be in a week from now, in 2 weeks from now. And of course, you have to schedule yourself and make sure that you are getting your projects done before time or on time. But Yeah, job search engines are great to find freelance work. You can also go on sites like Upwork.com, Guru.com, Freelancer.com. There are so many freelance sites. When I started, there were only a few pretty big ones, but now it's very mainstream. I believe now 34% of the Canadian population are freelancers, and in the United States it's about 35%. But with this what's currently happening with the coronavirus, I can guarantee that the freelancing industry is going to rise. So why not get started now? Another way to find clients, and of course when the coronavirus disappears, is to go to networking events. And again, try to be the only person in the room with your skill set. There's nothing wrong with going to networking events for your industry, because you can meet people who have been in your industry for quite some time, and you might find a potential mentor. But always try to be... Hi, how are you? Thanks for attending today. Just to do a quick recap, my name is Makita Waterman. I've been writing for the past 6 years. I have an at-home writing business, and I started it in 2014 while I was working full-time in marketing. I was running my business part-time at that time in the evening and on the weekend. And within 2 years of doing my writing business from home, it grew and I was able to leave the workforce. And I've been pretty successful only because I was mentioning to the other attendees, I've been marketing myself. I use social media to help myself get to the next level. I also do guest blogging, which is, for example, Quick Lube. I am assuming that you're in the auto industry. So guest blogging is basically reaching out to a popular site in your industry and asking the editor if you can write a blog either once a week or just one blog. And guest blogging is great because it allows you to get access to people, to that website's audience. So if the audience has 50,000 or 20,000 readers, and you do a free blog or an article for their website, it can open up doors for you as it has for myself. And guest blogging, I know not a lot of people want to write for free, but trust me, when I started blogging for the HuffPost, I was blogging for a job search engine called Glassdoor. It really helped me to get clients, and it helped me to increase my following. In addition to that, I was also mentioning social media branding, and I was... Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And I was mentioning about social media and being on platforms where your audience is located. So, for example, if you're trying to provide detailing services or auto services to business companies, I would suggest that you are on LinkedIn and you're actively posting content, sharing content, and commenting on people in the auto industry, or Crystal for yourself, the travel industry. You can take between 15 minutes to an hour a day just, searching for hashtags and looking for people in the industry, CEOs at companies, people at startups, decision makers at companies, like employees who are directors or executives, and try to comment on their posts and try to also use hashtags on your post so that they can find it. I like to use hashtags of job titles, and I like to use hashtags of industries, and I also use hashtags for locations. So I used to just write mainly for U.S. clients and Canadian clients, but now I'd like to branch out to Asia and Africa and South America. So I've been using different hashtags based on countries and cities and streets even. And I was also mentioning before how to find clients. If you want to start an at-home business or improve your clientele, try to be the only person in the room at networking events. I know with this coronavirus, it's a little bit different now. But if you can jump on networking, online virtual networking events, and be the only person in the travel industry or be the only person in the auto industry, And if they open the door for question and answers. If you ask a question in a virtual chat and you're the only person on the chat that's in the auto industry, and there's a CEO on that webinar, or there's a director that is in charge of budget, to hire your team to come in and detail their limousines or detail their company cars, just asking a question in a webinar full of entrepreneurs is a great way to stand out in your community and in the online space. And I was also mentioning how to find clients. Another opportunity if you're trying to find clients is to look on job search engines, because companies are looking to do contracts with small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And if you look on the government of Alberta or the government of where you're located, the government also offers contracts. Most governments offer contracts for small to medium-sized businesses, but the way that you have to do it is you have to submit a proposal, and you would be bidding, basically competing with other companies in your industry to get that government or municipal project. And contracts are great. I contract my services all the time. Last year, I did a 10-month contract with the government of Alberta. I worked with their tech team, and I did documents for their technology team. And I'm always open to contracts with reputable and big organizations because it looks great on your website. For testimonials, it looks great on your resume. And there are always influential people that you can meet while you're contracting for these companies. And then the last part I wanted to focus on is managing your finances. And I generally like to manage my finances by using an Excel spreadsheet. And I like to put my monthly expenses from marketing, branding. Before this coronavirus situation, I would even report like parking tickets if I had to go to local networking events. Or I was going to go to see Gary Vaynerchuk last week, and it's unfortunate he wasn't able to come because of this whole health crisis, but I used that as an expense. So I try to track how I'm spending my money. I also track advertising for Facebook and advertising for YouTube and Instagram. And I like to see what I'm spending, how much I'm making. And I always try to put away a certain amount for GST and taxes, etc. So yeah, that's a bit of how to start a business from home, or how to start a business that lasts even during recession. Business, it really is all about marketing. And it's about marketing and relationships, and that's something that I have learned throughout the process. I've been able to get opportunities because a lot of the times, sometimes people know people in high places and they refer me to them, or I just take a chance and I submit my profile to a company that's looking for a small to medium-sized business for a writing service, for example. And that's how I'm able to keep I wouldn't say keep afloat, but keep thriving, even during economic downturns. This whole thing that's happening, it's going to change the way a lot of people do businesses. A lot of people are going to do things virtual moving forward. And right now, like myself and many other entrepreneurs, I'm sure including you, we're thinking about new ways to innovate and how we can better serve our customers. So if there's any kind of technology that's free, or if you have to pay for a technology to serve customers more, especially during this time, then I definitely recommend it. Does anybody have any questions about social media branding, guest blogging, different remote work from home businesses, how to find clients, or managing your finances? Okay, so thank you so much for attending my Instagram Live. I'm going to try my best to do more of these once a week. I wanted to shift from, business writing, and shift more into how to start a business from home, because I know there are going to be a lot of people out there that Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's really about marketing, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't know how to market myself. And I feel a little sad because of this thing that's happening, because I would go to networking events at least once or twice a week, and I would try to, right. Yeah, you should. You should reach out. Pick up the phone. Even if you had a client 6 months ago, pick up the phone and ask them, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Spark a conversation. Don't be afraid to do that, because everybody's going through it, whether it's financial or mental or emotional. This self-isolation, was just mentioning, I would go to networking events once or twice a week. I would try to be the only writer in the room, and that helped me when I would go to these events, but now I'm not going to these events, and now I have to amp up on my social media now, because that's the only way that I can reach people and get people to notice who I am and what I'm doing, and I do that by providing tips and advice. I really try to use social media not as a sales pitch, like, hey, here I am, I can write, but I try to give tips and advice, like free tips and advice that I would charge somebody who wants to sit down and get a consultation. And if there's anybody that I would recommend that you follow, Gary Vaynerchuk, he is absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people don't agree with the way he talks sometimes because he swears on certain platforms, but he's really great at offering marketing and tips for business and entrepreneurs. Vanessa Lau, she's from British Columbia, actually. You can find her. She has a pretty good Lau, L-A-U. She's pretty good at offering marketing advice for Instagram. And I'll continue to keep sharing my tips and advice for all of you. Writing, it's difficult for some people. Yeah, Gary Vee, he's really cool. I like the way he thinks, and he's just honest about his strategy, and he's giving away advice that people like other influencers wouldn't give away for free. But that's really what marketing is about. It's about helping people solve a problem. So as I mentioned in my IG Live last week, if you guys know what problems your customers have, and you can figure that out, and you can put it in a blog post, social media post, in a video, in an audio on Spotify. Yeah, he's aggressive. He's a straight shooter. I like him. He kind of reminds me of my dad, and I think sometimes you need to hear that tough love, because when the advice is given to passive, some people don't listen to it, but he's honest, and he gives really great advice. I agree. But just try it out. Try to amp up your social media branding, and if you're interested in writing for a big auto news site or an influencer that has a website and maybe they are interested in taking your blogs, I would do it. If that person has 50,000, 15,000, 5,000 followers or 5,000 readers per month, and your blog or article gets in front of 5,000 people, why not? It just will open doors. And then finding clients, again, social media posts, searching on LinkedIn and other sites, following hashtags and seeing what CEOs are saying, and paying attention to the problems in your industry and creating content that can help solve those problems, that is a game changer. I'm telling you, like, if you know what people need to drive their car better, or to travel to Mexico next year when all of this is said and done, if you can solve those problems through your content and come up with suggestions and advice, people will be drawn to you. And it might not be overnight. Remember, it took me 2 years to get my business afloat, but after 2 years of posting content and blogging and doing social media and also going out, when all of this is said and done, and meeting new people in your community, you never know what can happen. So I want to thank all of you for joining my Instagram Live. I don't know exactly what I'm going to share next week, but it will probably be around either content or running a business from home, or I'll try to read all the comments on my social media platforms and find out what people are talking about, and then try to use a personal story to add value to your life. lives by sharing another Instagram live. So does anyone have any more questions before we go? Okay. Well, thank you so much for attending my Instagram Live, and stay tuned to more videos, quotes, and content, and I will do my best to help you guys with your content as well by sharing tips and advice on Instagram. I hope all of you have a great evening. Oh, you're welcome. Have a great evening. Stay healthy, stay safe, take care. Bye.